Good afternoon, Flosstube. This is Lynette at Homesteading on the Home Front.
And I'm Little One.
For those of you who have been here for a while, you will recognize our special guest, who is not so little anymore. But she's home on winter break, and that should make an appearance. Do you want to go first?
Sure. So I'll show my cross stitch first. I pulled my only WIP out again. This is Frederick the Literate. It's a kit, and it is very full coverage. Since the last time you guys have seen him, I worked on filling out the cat and most of this area here, as well as the fish. Fish isn't quite done yet, but
Frederick's coming along.
And I'm hoping to keep working on him. But since the last time I've been on Flosstube, I have still been crafting. I took up crochet, something that Mom has been trying to get me to do for years, and it only stuck when it was my idea. For Christmas, I made Mom a little gnome, but it's not just any gnome. For those of you who don't know, I do go to college, and I go to Syracuse University, whose mascot is Otto the Orange. So I made Otto if he was a gnome.
He's cute.
He's cute. I'm glad you like him. Over winter break, I've been doing a lot of beanies. This is probably only half of them. I gave a lot away for Christmas. And then my crochet WIP right now is a tote bag that this morning I worked on the lining for, so I just have to sew the lining into the bag and it will be all done. I'm hoping to have that done before I head back for the spring semester. That's it.
Gonna share your Instagram?
Sure. I do have a crochet Instagram now. It's all lowercase, science and stitch work. No spaces, no underscores or anything, just all together. And I post occasionally about what I've finished recently.
And Frederick Fridays, when you
when I work on
remember to show us Frederick.
Yes. So it's less of a crochet Instagram, and like in the tag, it's stitch work.
All right, so my turn.
Do you need the gnomes?
I will need the gnomes, yes. Okay. Actually, let's talk about the gnomes first so that you can show it.
Okay.
So, usually my rule is I will not purchase a chart until I have seen that chart 3 times and loved it both times, or all 3 times. I very much threw that rule out the window a couple weeks ago when I was searching on Etsy for some cross-stitch patterns. And I came across this one. Oh, there you go. It's very much full coverage. The background looks plain, but it is all stitched. And so I decided I loved it, and I bought it immediately. It's a download on Etsy, which is why we had to use her phone to show you. I was intending on making it my New Year, New Start, which I don't usually do. But we were going to be in Nebraska over New Year's, and I didn't know what the lighting situation was, and I didn't want to wait to start it. And so basically I started it, I don't know when, a couple days after Christmas, and I determined that I was able to work on it. I'm stitching it on 20 count gridded fabric, and I'm all in that left-hand corner, and it's a whole lot of neutrals. I did take my friend Amy's advice, and I downloaded Pattern Keeper, and I got it all set up. It was pretty easy to get started in Pattern Keeper, and I do have to say it's a game changer. So I have an Android phone, so I'm able to use Pattern Keeper and stitch from my phone, and so that's what I have been doing. Unfortunately, I think this one is going to be put away for a little while. Hopefully not until next Christmas, but I do have some plans that I want to get to. So yeah. All right, thanks for using your phone. You're welcome. You're dismissed. All right, so what I did was I have been planning to film this Flosstube since we got back from the farm. And so I had a bag of stuff that I was putting aside for when I was going to film Flosstube. And then little one came home, and she had gotten back into Frederick, so we knew we wanted to have her, and she was gone for bowl games at Syracuse and Christmas, and then we were in Nebraska. So to make a long story short, it's been way too long since I wanted to film. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's in my bag. Mostly they're finished items that, you know, I wanted to show on Flosstube. And then what I did is I emptied out my entire stitching basket. So I will show you WIPs and all that kind of stuff. There will be no particular order to it. It's just going to be, it is what it is. But let's get going. This one, I don't have, do I have a real photo? Yes, I do. This was from last year's Jingle Ball. It was my only purchase at last year's Jingle Ball. I had already stitched it twice. It's hard to see on camera, but this one I used the called for, and I kind of thought the red or dark pink was getting lost, so I stitched this one using a lighter pink, and I didn't like it, and so I decided to stitch it one more time. And this time I went much darker, and I really like the looks of this one. So I do have a spot. So I may stitch it a fourth time. I don't know. Maybe I'll actually get these ornaments FFO'd at some point. Who knows? That's from Hands On Design, if I didn't say it. And it's on a mystery fabric. I don't know what it was. It was just a pink that I had in my stash. And I don't know how it got there. I certainly didn't buy it because I'm a neutral stitcher. So this one you haven't seen because I didn't know that it needed to be finished. So last Christmas at this time, I was stitching on this. And then apparently I must have been stitching on it when I was subbing and ran out of a color and just never got back to it. And so I realized this year that I needed to finish it, and I did. So this was a freebie from Beth Twist at last year's Jingle Ball. I think it's called Be Minty. And so it is finally done. It's really, really tiny. I don't know. This might be 22 count Hardanger. It really is. I mean, you can see like my thumb. It's tiny. But I loved that, and I'm going to FFO that so I can have it on the tree next year. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, see, we're going back to fall. I was stitching on this at the farm. I stitched on it. No, did I stitch? I stitched on it at Stitch New England, and I believe I finished for the farm. But this is As the Crow Flies by Stacy Nash. I had purchased the kit when I was at Hobby House last year and finished it this fall. I love it. I wasn't sure. It's blowing out. The fabric is actually more orangey than this. And I don't know if you can see the difference. Probably not. It's very light on the model. This is much darker. And I was worried about it. So I strategically placed the house on the fabric. That's why it's not centered. I put the house on like a dark blob and hoping it would kind of calm things down, and it absolutely did. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. So there's another one that needs to be FFO'd for next year. The next one is a freebie from Crochet Go-Go. I liked it so much I stitched it twice. So I don't know which I first or second. One of them is on blue and one of them is on gray. And obviously they're different size fabric. I don't have any idea what they are. But yeah, that was a nice easy stitch this Christmas. This one was Little One's Christmas present. I was secretly stitching this, and you have seen it in its secret stage, but now it is all done. This one, I'm kind of a genius. So these were, Shannon Christine posted a bunch of these freebies last year. And I stitched them and I did not finish them. But I knew that I wanted to put them, this is just a button cover. So I mounted it on the button cover and I put a magnet on it. This is a ornament from Michaels. And I didn't even mount. I just placed a magnet in between the cardboard and the plastic. And so now it's an ornament, but it can also be a needle minder if somebody gets this as a smalls exchange. So I think I did buy more of these ornaments just because I thought that was just such a clever way to finish, clever and easy. There is a 2024 charm on it, which I will of course remove because if I use this in a smalls exchange, it will be 2025. All right. This, I don't have a very good picture because I printed it out and my printer cut half of it off. This was a freebie from Lindsay Waite at Primrose Cottage. I used sulkies on it. There's only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 colors that it calls for, and as it turns out, I had all of the ones that I needed. So I stitched it in sulky. I knew I needed to stitch it, I forget what size I stitched it on, but I knew I wanted it to fit on this block. So I used whatever size that was. Can somebody answer that so I don't have to quit my Flosstube? So this is what it'll be finished on at some point. And I think that's the end of the fall stitching. One last item that I completed was this guy. Where is he? So last year I stitched him. And I have the buttons for him. I just haven't put them on yet. So he's not even in FFO. But what I did last year was I didn't make him into the stocking shape because I knew I didn't want to finish him that way. So I used the same colors to stitch this one, which is called Snow Magical. So he will be finished into a circle. And I acquired this one and this one this year. So I will stitch them using the same colors. And I'll have a beautiful display. Also in this, I may use the same colors for this one as well. I saw the model. Randy had the model at the farm and it was amazing, and so I had to buy it. So I may use the same colors for all of them and do a little display next year. All right, so I think that is the end of my finishes up to a point. Now I'm just going to start grabbing and show you whatever comes first. What comes first here is this. I saw Pam's mom stitching on this at the farm, and I fell in love with this part, and so I bought it with the intention of only stitching the middle. And this is how far I've gotten. This was a great stitch. I had some waiting around to do this week because both kids had gotten called to jury duty and didn't want to drive into the city. And so I dropped them off and spent some time at Panera. And yeah, so almost done. It won't be long now because, like I said, I'm only stitching this part. So that's Annabella's. This one, I had seen Becky stitching on at Stitch New England, and I had to have it. It is the Nordic Ornament Tree, and it's just a little one. So I stitched it up and I made a change because if I was stitching a Nordic tree, I wanted it to say Merry Christmas in Swedish. I think that's how you say it in Norwegian as well. So I just kind of changed this middle one and added in God Jul. And then I was looking at it and remembering that I had bought a bunch of these trees at Michael's. Might have been last year, might have been a couple years ago, I don't know. And I thought if I just stitched that much, then it would probably fit on the tree. And so I stitched that much, and it is going to fit nicely on the tree. So that will be something else for me to FFO. And then I think I'm going to be stitching it a third time. When I figure out what I'm doing and if I'm really going to do it, I will tell you all about it. Until then, it'll marinate in here for a little bit. This is a WIP that you have seen and I haven't touched. This is a summer garden sampler that I am stitching in honor of Daleen at Rags to Stitch It. No, stitching in honor of Daleen, and Rags to Stitches the Rain is stitching it with me. And so this is how far I've gotten. It was like this took me no time at all to get this far. So I think I'm pretty much at the bottom here. I'm going to fill it in. I'm going to make some changes. But I've decided that rather than hurrying to get it done, I was going to savor the stitch and then stitch on it when things reminded me of Daleen. And so I know at some point when I plant her poppy seeds at the end of winter, that will be a day that I stitch on this because I'll be thinking of her. All right, this next one is my snow day stitch, and we actually had several days of snow in December. I thought I wasn't going to start it until after the new year, but I did get to start it in December, and it's going really fast. So that's how far I've gotten. Most of this is just half stitches, which is why it went so fast. So if you have been here, you will recognize that this is a companion piece to the one that I stitched last year. Hold please. I happen to have it right here. So this was my snow day piece last year. The chart for this wasn't easy to read. It was a lot of mixing of colors, which I had to change because instead of doing it on 14 count, I did it on 20 count, and so I couldn't blend threads because I'm not stitching on 20 count with 2 threads. It wasn't an easy chart to read. This one is much better. There's no, there might be 2 thread blendings, but it's much easier, much fewer than the last one. And the buildings are full cross stitches, but all of the background are just half stitches. So I will be working on this one in January and February when we get snow or ice, maybe rain, maybe precipitation. And then beginning in March, I will just work on it to finish it so that it is done by the first day of spring, because I don't want to be stitching winter and spring, and I don't want to carry it over till next year. I want to get the 2 pieces finished so that I can enter them into our fair on Labor Day weekend. All right, this one, if you follow me on Instagram, you will recognize. This was my December stitch. I started, it wasn't December 1st, it was a couple days early I started it. Again, no intentions of making it into a stocking, so I played with it a little. And I finished it in time for Christmas, with the caveat that I didn't know if I was going to put the bird in or not. I love the bird, but I didn't know how I was going to finish it, and I wanted to figure that out before I put the bird in. And as it turns out, I recently found a frame that is going to be perfect. But it does mean I get to stitch the bird, and so I'll be finishing that up. And hopefully FFOing this so that it's ready for next Christmas. Another WIP that you have seen before. There's no ironing going on here, folks. The infamous Dutch Beauty. If I tried real hard, I could get it done for the fair this year. I mapped it out, and it's possible, but I don't think I want to try that hard. And this was also before I started stitching the gnomes. So anyway, I have hit the halfway point. The cupids are the halfway point, I believe. So I'm a little more than halfway across. And then I did make it all the way down to the bottom. So I believe that the exception of, the fill-in areas here, like with her dress, I have 7 pages complete out of 21. So I'm almost a third of the way there. I was saving this for like fill-in at retreats and stuff, but she is just so big. She's not a great retreat piece. I will be taking her to a retreat in April simply because Amy too will be there, and we started this together, Stitch New Jersey, a year and a half ago. So I like to take it when I know I'm going to see Amy so that we can work on it together. My hope is to get 2 pages done in January and 2 in February. Don't know that that's going to happen, but it might. It does go fast once I get down to it. Oh, hey you. You have to not look. I guess I'll unroll it for you since this is kind of a WIP parade. So we've gotten this filled in. I don't even have a picture of it, so I can't show you what it's going to look like, but I have it decently, right? So without saying too much, I think it speaks for itself what I'm doing here. And that obviously is for the one who's sitting right over there. Okay, you can look now. It's sufficiently hidden. She also has headphones on, so she can't hear me. All right, what else do we have? I have one more bag. And there's a lot of little things in here. Let's... Okay. Well, there was a lot of stuff in there. Most of it is scraps of fabric because this is my tiny project bag. So that I put my tiny scraps of fabric in here, and then when I have tiny ornaments to stitch, I have all of the fabrics ready to go. All right, so I will be stitching this one. This was from Kathy Haberman at this year's Jingle Ball. And I thought I had more finishes in here, but I don't know where they went. Trying to see if they're hiding or if I put them somewhere. See, normally what I'll do with these like pieces is I'll just put them on a little scroll frame, and I'll stitch one ornament here, and then I'll roll it up, and then I'll stitch another ornament here, and then I'll just leave it on the scroll frame until the fabric is used up. I have no idea where these projects went to. This is the spool that I'm going to use. I think I showed you the flag that I stitched. This was a spool that I found at an antique shop when we were in Nebraska. I have never seen one so little, so I don't know what I'm going to put on it, but that's going into the little project bag as well. All right, so that brings us to almost half an hour, which is exactly the way I like my floss tubes. Plans for the new year include working on Dutch Beauty, working on my Snow Day stitch, working on the gnomes. Those 3 projects will probably take me until spring. And then this is the first year. Usually around October, I start like getting antsy and wondering what I'm going to stitch for the new year. Didn't have that happen this year, so I literally have no idea. I am hoping to start the green bean sampler at the retreat that I'm going to in April. Janet, if you're watching, I think we're starting. Did we decide we were going to start there together? I don't know. So I'll be stitching on the Jenny Bean green bean sampler. I had seen the chart when it first came out, didn't do anything for me, and then I saw it in person at Hobby House, and I knew I had to have it. And then I went on a wild goose chase trying to find the perfect colored green fabric, because I don't have that in my stash, because I'm a neutral fabric kind of person. So I ordered a couple. I didn't love any of them. And then I ordered the called for, which I should have done, and I think that's going to be perfect. I'm stitching it on 20 count. I need to stitch it on 20 count in order to fit a standard size frame. I did find some great fabric that I really would have liked to stitch it on, but they don't dye 20 count. So I do think I'm going to be happy with called for, and I think that's what I'm going to use. So yeah, that's all I can tell you right now. Dutch Beauty, the gnomes, my Snow Day stitch, and probably starting the green bean sampler in April. Everything else is to be determined. which unusual for me. Usually I can show you all of the projects that I intend to stitch on, but it is what it is. I've been enjoying the WIP parades. Keep them coming. Sorry, not sorry that I don't have as many WIPs as some people, and my WIP parade isn't very long, but that's okay. Wishing you all a happy new year. If you are in California in the path of the fires, we are thinking of you. If you are in the Midwest that got snow and looks to be getting more snow, we're thinking of you. And so far we have missed it all. We haven't had a good substantial snowfall yet. Hopefully we'll get a couple. I love being snowed in. All right, we'll talk to you later, Flosstube. Have a good one. Bye-bye.